As the two young men exit the bedroom, they find their families gathered in a semicircle around a stranger. Standing in the living room is a tall, well-dressed black man in his mid-30s. Black hair cut in the fashion of the time. A thin mustache graces a handsome face. His manner of speech reveals him to be a northerner, a Yankee. Kevin's mother turns and introduces the young men to the stranger. Guess who this be? The young men stare in silence. Good afternoon. My name is Philip Pickman. I'm the new school teacher. I'm just making the rounds to introduce myself to all the school-aged children. I've come from up north, from a small town in Massachusetts. I heard tell that you folks around here didn't have a school teacher, so I applied for the job. I'm also a member of the NAACP, and I intend to register every colored man of voting age. Colored folks, voting, questions Kevin's mother, her voice denoting a certain fearful apprehension. She once more questions. You mean to tell me you come all the way down here from up north to see to it that colored folks vote? Yes, ma'am, that's right, affirms the handsome stranger. Our people have to look out for each other. We know what things are like down here in Mississippi. The whole world knows what it's like for colored folks here in America, especially in Mississippi. All the way from France to Russia, they know that the colored man in America has been unchained, but never freed. You folks here in Mississippi may feel alone, but you have more friends in the world than you can imagine. That's why I'm here. I intend to see our people free. I'm here to educate your children and empower your men. Through the power of the ballot, your vote has more power than you could ever imagine. Kevin's sisters emote a cheerful exuberance. We's all gon' be free, shouts Trina to her younger siblings. Kevin's mother throws both arms around the stranger, hugging him tightly. She tearfully emotes. Glory to God. Praise Jesus, we've been praying for a miracle. Son, you is the answer to all our prayers. My, but you are brave, says Hazel. Her eyes gaze at the handsome stranger with the deepest of admiration. Kevin interrupts. Excuse me, Mr. Pickman, but you mean to say, you mean for the colored folk here, in Nigger Town, to go down to Musky, down to the courthouse, and sign up all the colored folks to vote? Don't that mean taking power away from white folk? No, son, I don't mean taking power away from white folks. I mean to simply give power to black folks. Isn't that what democracy means? One man, one vote. The intensity of his stare causes Kevin to look down. This nigger must be crazy. He ain't never been down south, declares Kevin to young Perkins in a hushed tone. Young Perkins, deaf to Kevin's concern for the stranger's safety, remains standing, silently glaring in disapproval. Not in disapproval of the handsome stranger's lofty ambitions, not at his naivete. His anger stemmed from the manner in which Hazel gazed at him. The look in her eyes gave every evidence of her being smitten. In that short moment of introduction, he knew then and there that he had a serious rival. So, Mr. Pickman was to be the new school teacher. He was going to single-handedly lift the black men of Musky, Mississippi, from the dust of their wretchedness. Kevin suddenly noticed the look of disapproval in the eyes of young Perkins. Seeking to give his young companion a small word of solace, he expresses, Don't worry, partner. He won't be around very long. The fool, he don't know what he's in for. I give him 6 months at best. Them white folks kill him faux show. You hear what I say? We's looking at a dead man. Young Perkins gives no reply. He merely squints his eyes, grits his teeth, and slowly nods in agreement. The stranger notices young Perkins holding his suitcase. You not leaving us, are you? Questions the stranger. No, sir, Mr. Pickman. Kevin's mother interrupts. He's just gone to stay with my sister here. That's Miss Emma's grandson. I don't reckon you met her yet. She makes the best pies in the county. Well, that's just fine. I love my pies, especially blackberry pies." "Funny you mentioned that," interrupts Hazel. "Blackberry pies are her specialty. Lord in heaven, you haven't tasted heaven until you tasted one of her flaky blackberry pies. The secret is in her crust." Noticing the piercing glare in the eyes of young Perkins, Mr. Pickman excuses himself. "Well, I guess I kept you people long enough. It's about time I move along." "Leaving so soon?" Kevin's mother questions in an attempt to remain hospitable. "Yes, I've got a few more houses to visit. I heard tell that around 30 children of school age are around here. I mean to visit them all before school starts next month." "Well, I'm glad to meet you," Kevin's mother says as she gives the stranger a final farewell hug. "Yes, Mr. Pickman, I'm glad to see a man that's not afraid." Not wishing to present such a demonstrative display of affection, Hazel merely extends a hand. "I suspect I'll be seeing you again." All present notice a certain chemistry between the two, a pleasant affability. But also noticed by all is the tight black leather glove worn on the right hand of Mr. Pickman, while the other hand remained gloveless. "Oh, you're wondering about my hand," remarks the stranger. "It was injured during the war." "Does it hurt?" asks Kevin's younger sister. "No, dear child, it did, but it doesn't anymore. I leave the glove on because the wound is quite unsightly, but it works just fine." Noting the look in the eyes of the two, Kevin's mother decides to play matchmaker. "Then you wouldn't mind toting that there suitcase over to my sister's house, would you please?" Young Perkins angrily spurts. "I think I can manage just fine by myself." "Nonsense," she replies. Walking over to the young man, she removes the suitcase from his grasp. "You don't need to be carrying all that, not after you being in bed all those days. I'm sure he won't mind. Here, Mr. Pickman." Smiling, she hands the case to Mr. Pickman. "No, I don't mind at all," he calmly insists, all the while gazing into the young widow's eyes. "Shall we go?" Her eyes question young Perkins. Mortified with so drastic a change of events, young Perkins merely shrugs and bids a grudging farewell to Kevin and his family. As the three exit the home and make their way down the long country road, young Perkins can only reflect on life's capricious nature. Looking back at the wood frame house where Kevin stands with his family, under the shade of the front porch, watching, waving, wondering how a gentleman so fine would deem it necessary to come to a place so foul. Who was the stranger? Who was this man from the north? Young Perkins lagged a few paces behind the two as they engaged in idle banter, his eyes all the while scrutinizing the stranger. Looking down at his shiny black shoes, he marveled at the way the golden light of the afternoon sun reflected like black mirrors against freshly polished patent leather. While most of the men of the community wore overalls even on Sundays during the church meetings, they would call themselves suitably dressed by merely wearing a tie and white shirt. The only time a black man wore a suit and tie, sadly to say, was at the day of his internment. Even then the community had to take up an offering. The colored population of Musky had no real money. The poor folks there dealt largely in barter. How immaculate, how sharply his pants were pressed. The crease in his trousers appeared to be razor sharp. The suit coat he wore had obviously been cut to fit by a master tailor. The young man could find not a single flaw. The handsome stranger was perfect in dress and manners, though his pale complexion revealed the fact that at one time his mother or grandmother had been the pampered property of a white plantation owner. His blue-gray eyes, once a mark of shame, they now presented themselves as something of a novelty, a thing of beauty. Young Perkins hated the way they seemed to draw Hazel in. The stranger's gaze was something close to hypnotic, trance-like. No, Mr. Pickman was out of place here in Musky. He was perfect, too perfect. There was something unnatural about it, something unnatural, unreal. He was trying hard, too hard to appear human, to be human. Then it struck him, suddenly. The stranger did have a weakness, a glaring flaw. The secret to Mr. Philip Pickman had been covered up. Had he truly been wounded during the Great War? Young Perkins greatly doubted the veracity of that statement. He had seen men come back from the war with wounds far more ghastly than a burned hand. Young Perkins was convinced, without a doubt. The stranger was hiding something, something dark, something ugly, something evil. The war must have been something terrible. It's terrible what them Germans done. Looking down at his gloved hand, does it pain you much? Questions the widow. No, I'm just fine, the stranger claims. His gray-blue eyes begin to squint under the glare of the summer sun. Is it always like this? Is it always this hot, this humid? Oh no. Young Perkins interjects, wishing to deter the young stranger from his mission. He begins exaggerating. Yes, sir. Today ain't nothing. Tomorrow probably be much worse. I've seen dogs just howling in pain from having all four of their paws stuck in the road. Most times when it gets hot. I mean real hot. You can see the tar bubbling.